This week I learned it's never too early to show your 11-year-old some Friday the 13th. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back for another weekly update. Trying a little new location today to see how it works because, I'm always looking to try and keep things fresh on the channel. But I know that when you change something that wasn't broken, people get upset about it. So let me know, guys. Is this okay with you? It doesn't seem to bother me. But hey, here we are. I am a man of the people. You guys let me know what you like and do not like. But another weekly update, guys, rolling through the spooky season here, and things have been very, very fun as it is Friday the 13th in spooky season. That is always going to be something a little special, I think, here on the channel. But now that I've rambled on longer than I usually do in an opening, let's go ahead, guys, and talk about what am I reading. Well, I finished Little Heaven. Told you a lot about it last week, so I don't want to kind of repeat everything I said. I did like it quite a bit. Still think I like The Troop a bit better. This started a lot better than The Troop. I really liked a lot of it, and it didn't fall apart, I would say, but I think it kind of lost a little bit of the focus that I was really loving about the beginning. It really focused on that main trio of the mercenaries there. Kind of got away from it in a little bit that I have no problems with you expanding your cast, but it was like when you switch the point of view to those other characters at the compound, I just didn't care. I just didn't care about them. So when they were falling apart and going crazy, it just didn't really click for me. The villain, Amos, he's an all-timer. He's right up there with the Stephen King villain, I think, for sure. But I think that the story with Micah at the end might lose some people. And that's where I think that with a lot of the Stephen King comparisons come up. It's like, yeah, he can spin a great yarn, but the endings he still struggles with. Guys, I just think that's the genre. That's the horror genre. You're never going to please everybody when it comes to the ending of a horror book, because if it's happy, it's too much of a Disney ending. If it's bad, if it's an unhappy ending, it's like, well, it's just, it just left me hopeless. And if it's ambiguous, like, well, I need some finality. So I just think that of any genre that I talk about on the channel, horror is the hardest one, because it's just impossible to do endings with horror. It really is, because it's just almost impossible to please everyone, because it's not going to be dark enough for those who want it dark. It's not going to be happy enough for those who want it happy. That's just kind of the way that it rolls. The thing about doing the video from over here is I'm recording the audio on my laptop, and it keeps giving me these messages about OneDrive. I don't care about OneDrive, Microsoft. Please stop. Anyways, guys, I finished One Piece volume number 13. I know I've slowed down on that. My child is very, very upset with me that I'm so behind him on the anime now, but I told him it takes longer to read it than it does to watch it. But it doesn't take very long to read them at all. It's just I'm trying to focus on these horror reads right now. But I did like volume 13. Zoro is just awesome. I don't know what else to say. He's fighting like 100 people. It's great. Made me think of that scene in Berserk where Guts takes on 100 soldiers. It's pretty really cool. But I'm liking the Baroque Works storyline. Is pretty cool. Even if I think the naming mechanisms are weird. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Mr. 0, Mr. 1, Mr. 7. It's just like, wow. Okay, well, get very creative on those names, but you get used to them after a little bit, I think. But I'm still enjoying my time with One Piece, and going to keep rolling through it here slowly, if not surely. Then I started my next spooky season read, guys, which is They Thirst by Robert McCammon. Now, Robert McCammon, you don't know, Swan Song, Boy's Life, two of my favorite books that I think I've ever read since I started this channel. It's they're great, just really overall, really just two of my favorite books I've ever read, period. And so I was like, okay, McCammon's very, very high on my list. And I read Wolf's Hour last spooky season. Wasn't nuts about it. Part of it was like, I'm not really into the espionage thing. I just wanted a werewolf story, and that really, really wasn't what it was. And then it was just the expectations, I think, after Swan Song were just going to be impossible to fill. Now, I know that They Thirst apparently is one of these that McCammon kind of like decanonized, like personally, because he just doesn't think it was up to snuff with what he's actually capable of. I'm enjoying it so far. I think what I like about it, about 100 pages in, I read the first 100 pages yesterday, is I love the way that he gives so many little quirks when he's developing his characters. He's right next to Stephen King with that, and that it helps to differentiate these large casts, because he's giving each individual character something unique to them that you see as you hear that you're like, oh yeah, that's the person that has the jaw that clicks when they chew, or that's the person who his parents were freaking wacko or something. It's easy for you to kind of relate to those characters and remember who they are because he gives them such individuality. But it's a lot more of a crime detective kind of novel so far than I was expecting. I was expecting a full-on, Salem's Lot vampire kind of story. But it's not bad, not at all. I'm enjoying where it's going, and this little mystery that we've got going on here at the beginning is fun, and I want to know who is the roach, But I will just say, guys, Ouija boards, don't screw with them. Look, you can believe what you want, but I just know the one thing that I believe is I don't fucks with Ouija boards. No, thank you, no, thank you. So that was pretty spooky. How about what am I going to read, guys? I do have some things on the docket here. Obviously, finishing They Thirst. That's the meatiest book in all of spooky season this year. So I'll be working on that this week. Hopefully I can get through it. And then I'll be starting volume 14 of One Piece and continuing with the Whiskey Peak arc. I know that there is some new characters coming up because every time I do glance up when my kids watching the anime, I'm like, who is that character? And I'm like, she's like, it should have been introduced to you by now, at least. If not, you're pretty close. So I'll be finding out about that soon. And then next up after that will be Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay, and my wife is actually going to be reading this one with me. So I told you guys when I talked about the synopsis of this that it sounded like an exorcism that's turned into a reality show. That sounds interesting. It sounds like something my wife would watch on Netflix. And I told her the synopsis, and she was like, yeah, I want to read that now. So I did get it for her, and we are going to be reading this one together after I finish They Thirst. So that should be a fun time. But yeah, about on schedule, I'd say, for my spooky season reads. I'm not gonna lie, I've had a little bit of, I don't want to say a reading slump, but I haven't been reading at my usual clip. I think that, it took me about, 8-9 days to finish Little Heaven, and usually a book that short I'd finish in 2 or 3, really. It's sports season, guys. Football just started, and I'm a crazy American football fan, and then the MLB playoffs have started. I'm actually curious about the Rockets for a change. So, yeah, I've actually been paying a lot more attention to sports, and that can kind of fall in line with it. But, I don't think you have to worry about me never reading. I think I just kind of slowed down, but I am starting to wonder if I'm going to be able to finish all 6 of the books I have finished for this month. But we will see. We will see what happens, guys. So how about this week on the channel? Did do a few things here. I did my book haul for September. Those are always a lot of fun for me because I get to talk about all the wonderful things that you guys sent me, say thank you, and help out some independent authors and things like that. But again, I just like showing them because it helps people who want to buy these versions, if they actually what they look like, do the spines match, fun things like that. I think the biggest thing for book collectors is do the sizes match, because when you get those that set and you think, oh great, I'm going to finally get a matching set, and just one of them's like a 1/4 inch taller than the other, it drives you crazy. So I like to show those all, but I think it creates a lot of conversation. A lot of things I haven't tried yet that people sent me, and I'll get a lot of comments below about what it's like, if they think it's something that I'll be into or not, and other recommendations. So it's always just a fun conversation starter, I think. And then I did the final part of my trilogy of popular books that I still want to read, and this was the horror one. And much like I expected, much less interest than the fantasy or the sci-fi one. That's just kind of like I said, that's why I kind of want to inject a little more horror into the channel. But plenty of interest of people who are, have read those books and have lots of feedback to give me on those, and I do appreciate that. It seems like the kind of the weirdest one is Hell House by Peter Straub, or not Hell House, I'm sorry, Ghost Story by Peter Straub. Hell House is Richard Matheson. Ghost Story by Peter Straub is the one that people either say is like the most amazing horror book they've ever read, or it's just absolutely boring drivel. So I'll be interested to see where I come down on that one, because I said I was probably pretty unfair to Peter Straub when it came to The Talisman, and I kind of blamed all the things I didn't like about The Talisman on Peter Straub, and all the things I did like I gave credit to Stephen King. It's very unfair of me, so I want to make sure I give Peter Straub a chance on his own right when he's not collaborating with my favorite author of all time. I'll see how I feel about his books. But yeah, lots of fun stories on there that I think I want to get to. And like I said, that was just kind of like the greatest hit. So I had a lot of people being like, what about this book and this book? I was like, well, I've never even heard of it. And that's not to say I've heard of every popular book, but I think most of those books are ones that if you're into the horror genre, you've heard of those books or heard of those authors. So that's why I picked those. But yeah, we'll be putting some more horror into the reading schedule here, all through the year, not just in October going forward. And I'm excited to do it. I've already got 2 or 3 planned for the first quarter of 2024, and it should be very exciting to get those spooky things out all across the year. I did a video about these earbuds that I got, and it got such a weird reaction. I don't understand. I have over 100,000 subscribers on this channel. I refuse to take a sponsor on this channel because I don't bullshit. I don't lie to you guys. And yet I make a 5-minute videos about some earbuds because I think my audience that listens to mostly audiobooks would be interested. And I got a ton of negative comments about how I'm selling out, about how I'm shilling, about how I'm slinging a product, stuff like that, guys. I've never taken... Guys, you knew how many lucrative sponsor offers I get daily that I say no to. And you guys really think I'm going to sell out my integrity for some earbuds? Really? Does that really compute to you at all? If someone sends me something and says, hey, this is contingent upon you giving us a positive review, I tell them to get bent. That's not my style, guys. I'm never going to lie to you guys. So again, I don't feel like I have to explain this, but I just understand it doesn't compute for me. I refuse to take a sponsor, which pay a lot of money, guys. And I talk about some earbuds because I think that my audience might like them, and you guys tell me that I'm selling out and I'm pushing them on my audience. Anyways, that's just something that I talked about in the channel this week. I do got this thing where my knee's jacked up, and my doctor said, hey, you need to start getting about 10,000 steps per day to kind of work some things out. And I said, hey, cool, I need some earbuds and I need a smartwatch, and that's what I got. So I thought, hey, I can talk to my audience about this because I know most of them listen to audiobooks. So that is why I did. I hope you guys will check it out. Mike's Media Reviews. I did talk with my wife about 3 movies that we watched. The Host, that's Bong Joon-ho, the guy who did Parasite. Great movie. And he's just 3 for 3 for me so far, so I'm interested in checking out more of his stuff. Sick, the Peacock original, written by Kevin Williamson of Scream fame, and that's very, very apparent, guys, because it is very much a Walmart Scream movie. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And then we talked about Hereditary from 2018, a movie that I loved and my wife did not love. So we thought it'd be fun to get on camera and talk about why I enjoyed it and why she thinks it is a trash heap, as she so eloquently called it. But yeah, she's savage in those videos, guys. So I feel like I try to keep the positive. My wife, yeah, she's a positive person, but she's got no problem telling you how she feels. That's why you can't do a live stream with the redhead, guys, because you can't control what they're going to say. So I hope you guys are into movies and TV. You'll go ahead and hop on over. I know some people aren't into horror, and we're doing horror right now because it's October, but we'll be doing all kinds of stuff here very, very soon. How about some next week plans, guys? Not doing a Stephen King book this month, so I said, how do I get some Stephen King on the channel? Well, I have an idea for a Stephen King video. A question I get asked the most outside of where should I start with Stephen King is, what are Stephen King's scariest books? Well, I thought, how about I do a video ranking Stephen King's scariest stories? Now, it's going to kind of be one of those things. With horror, it just depends on you, what actually scares you. But I'll talk about the 10 that scared me the most at different parts of my life, because I read many of these when I was a teenager and reading them again as an adult, and new things are scaring me. So I think that'll be a fun conversation to have, and we'll do that sometime early next week. And I guess I have to break down and finally do that Kindle Scribe review for you guys, because after I did review some earbuds, people are like, what the heck? What's up with the Kindle? So yes, that was kind of my trial run. See if I can do this thing mobile, walk around the house, do things with it, because I do need to move my regular camera angle to show you guys things on the actual Kindle, show you how it operates and stuff. So yeah, I'll try to get that going this week. I've waited long enough, but now seems to definitely be the time. And over on Mike's Media Reviews, we'll continue with some coverage. We'll be talking about the new Mike Flanagan series, The Fall of the House of Usher, which is a love letter to all things Edgar Allan Poe. So I think what we're going to do is just maybe 2 or 3 episodes. We'll kind of talk about them and kind of do the next one. So maybe like a 3-part series talking about, we'll do like episode 1 through 3, then we'll do 4 through 6, and then 7, 8, and our final thoughts about the series. But we watched the first 2 last night, which I'll talk about here in just a second when we get to TV and movie talk. And that's a good time to get to TV and movie talk. First, I want to talk about this Exorcist Believer movie. A lot of people have been asking me if I was going to go see it, because I know I did read the book for the first time last year. I love the movie. It's one of my favorite movies ever. I have no interest to see this movie, guys. Several reasons. One, I'm tired of the let's make a sequel to a movie that's 40 years old. It rarely works out. I mean, how'd that work out for Dial of Destiny? Not so well, huh? With me, it was like, I would have been curious to give it a try if David Gordon Green, that's the guy who directed and wrote it, didn't completely shit the bed with the Halloween deal that he just did. Halloween Ends was one of the worst movies I've seen in the last decade, and that's being generous to that movie. So all the goodwill he had with me kind of went out the window. A lot of people want to give him credit because of that first new Halloween movie. Be honest with you guys, I didn't think that one was that good either. So I just don't trust this guy. I don't feel good that he actually respects these movies. It feels like he's just trying to, hey, how can I do this for modern audiences kind of thing? And modern audiences, when you're making horror, that's not what I'm going for. I'm going for a particular audience. And that's an audience that likes things bloody. They like things uncomfortable. They like things a little, for lack of a better term, fucked up, And it just doesn't seem like what they're going for. I watched a trailer. I didn't like the idea of making the possession in two girls. And then you go, oh, hey, look, we got this actress back from the original movie. And I don't know, it didn't look like enough. And then, of course, the reviews came out. They were scathing, both the audience and the critics. And then, it didn't really perform that well the first weekend. I made more money than Saw X. But here's the thing, guys. Saw X or Saw 10, whatever you would like to call it, it had 1/3 of the budget. So I think the fact that this movie didn't cost a ton, I think that the budget was like $30 million, will actually save it. It'll actually make its money back. But if he's actually wanting to make a trilogy of this like he did with Halloween, at least with the first Halloween, you show people, okay, at least I somewhat can make you feel the things that you felt with the original Halloween, even if I didn't like the way that the storyline went. But with this, it's just like, I don't know. I haven't actually seen it, so I can't say, but everything I've heard about it, yeah, should have left Pazuzu in the can, I think, for a little while longer. Okay, Follow the House of Usher. We watched the first 2 episodes last night. I was really, now I want to say concerned, because I trust Mike Flanagan wholeheartedly. The guy is awesome. He does nothing wrong. I was really, really curious to see how he was going to adapt some of these Poe stories with a modern kind of just aesthetic, because it does take place in current day. So that's where I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out. Guys, I'll say you're in good hands, because episode 2 was basically his version of Mask of the Red Death, and it was great. It was great, pulled no punches. It is just, if people were worried about this, well, maybe it won't be as messed up as Poe stuff. Worry not, my friends. Worry not. The ending of episode 2 will make you be like, yeah, so good stuff. So I'm all in. Obviously, it's Flanagan. Not worried about it at all. Me and my wife are probably going to burn through that this weekend, and I cannot wait to do it, because I love Edgar Allan Poe. I'm glad to see some of these things finally adapted by someone who knows what they're doing. Although I did kind of like is it Vincent Price that did The Pit and the Pendulum? I did kind of like that one. But I can't wait to see how he adapts some of those other ones. I do know they are going to be doing The Raven. Obviously, The Raven's a key central character in this overarching story here. But he's going to be doing Pit and the Pendulum and The Telltale Heart, which are 2 of my very, very favorite Poe stories. So I'm anxious to see, because so far he's 1 for 1 in those classics by doing The Mask of the Red Death, and doing it very, very cool. So I hope you guys will check it out. It is the last Mike Flanagan offering on Netflix before he becomes full-time with Amazon and hopefully doing The Dark Tower. I watched Signs with my oldest, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, Shyamalama Ding Dong. Good movie, man. That's one of those things where I was curious if that was going to be something, because I haven't seen it since, it was like 20 years ago. If it was one of those things that was just better in my memory than it actually was. No, it was really good. And I'll actually say that me and my wife both said this time, it's a little different watching it now than watching it as a 20-year-old, because you get a lot of hit in the feels if you are a parent. And if you are a spouse, obviously there's lots of stuff in there that really, really hits you in the feelings that you weren't expecting. But that's just a damn good script. It really is. The screenplay is really, really tight. It has several things that pay off. The monologues are really good. And I mean, of course, the scary stuff that you're there for with M. Night was pretty good. So I think it built a really good, slow sense of dread. That whole movie, they're coming. And then when it actually gets there, it's actually quite satisfying. And you have a really, really good ending, I think. So I think of all of the M. Night movies, that's the one that probably has the least amount of twist ending. When you find out what can actually fight these invaders. It's actually, a lot of people had a problem with it, because it's like, well, why would you invade a planet that's 3/4 water? But they didn't know that. It's just, it very much is his throwback, his hat tip to War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. And what killed the aliens there? Germs. Yeah. So it's obviously they didn't do enough research before they landed, so I think it's a great flick, and my kid enjoyed it quite a bit. He's like me. He said he didn't like it as much as Sixth Sense, but he liked it quite a bit. And I'm like, you're probably never going to like one of his movies as much as you like Sixth Sense. It's been a long time, and I still feel that way. But we're going to watch Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, tonight. I thought that he's been asking, look, he wants to watch Freddy, Jason, and Michael. He wants to. Last year we watched the first Halloween, and I've been kind of holding off on Fridays because of the sexual content. Like the violence, bad language, that's fine. I was watching way worse when I was his age, and I'm like, it's fine. It doesn't seem to bother him very much. The sexual content, I'm like, I don't want to make him uncomfortable. I don't want to make us uncomfortable. So we usually kind of try to avoid that. So I've kind of kept him away from Friday the 13th movies. But 6 is probably the one that's closest to a PG-13 rating. It really is the one that has no nudity, no real sexual content. If you were saying there was a PG-13 Friday the 13th movie, that would be the one. I remember the director, I can't think of his name right now, was saying that he kind of wanted to get away from the idea that premarital sex meant you were going to get killed. So that's why he kind of went the direction he did. And I think it can work as a standalone. And if he really likes it, we can show him New Blood too, because I think he'd really like that. I liked 6 and 7 a lot when I was his age. So I think this will be a good introduction for him. It's like weird. Like, why are you starting on a part 6? That's what my wife asked. And I'm like, it'll work. It'll work. Trust me. Because my wife's never watched any of these other, because she just, I just go, and she's like, nope. So it'll be her first time as well. But that's what we got planned, since it is Friday the 13th, and we're so far ahead on our horror movie watching schedule. But guys, that was my week. I'd love to hear how your week is going. Why don't you go ahead and drop in the comments. Let me know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you are playing, and I will talk to you there. Have a very, very happy, scary, and safe Friday the 13th.